Whoa, there's music going. Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sport Talks College Football Huddle. How's everybody doing? We're back in the studio after a couple of weeks away. We tried to get some college chatter in while we were on vacation on the cruise ship Venezia in the Caribbean and Northern Atlantic and several other places. I don't remember. But it's great to be back in the studio with you guys. We're going to talk some college football. Welcome everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. All the groups that will allow us to share. You see some of our favorites always scrolling at the bottom. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities. Greg Rawlings doesn't necessarily apply for America's pastime here, but Greg is one of our big supporters. Flo and Can over there at Bottom Line Sports. We love everything that they do to support us. Check out their podcast as well, which airs on YouTube and on Let's Talk Sports, another one of our fun partners. Who else? Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts, and many, many others. DDH, thumbs up. Mac McGrath, thumbs up. We are going to be starting to call the National Streaming Sports, I believe, the McGrath Podcast Network, something along those lines. So we'll keep you informed about the changes there and things coming. I don't want to change the effect of the show or the times or any of that. We're going to talk some of the ramifications of last week's college football poll and where we stand today, who's in, who's locked, who's not, who's still alive. Alan Perala is one of our great followers and also does some great stuff over there on Let's Talk Sports. Will join us at 7:30. We'll do a little debating on the poll. I know he had some thoughts. His Oklahoma Sooners, I don't think, are a lock, by the way. They better not lose this weekend. Because I think the pollsters are really trying to position the Hurricanes to make this tournament one way or another. Some of the convoluted conference races are this is a byproduct of 16, 18 team leagues, no divisions, 9-game schedules. Every league is going to come down to tiebreakers, and I think that's a lot of crap. But anyway, we still got some music playing. I can hear. Let me turn that off. And let's see who's with us to get started here. Danny Fuller's with us. Hello. Looking relaxed? Oh, he's relaxed. Wait 5 minutes. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, too. John Gonzalez, one of our most ardent supporters. We always thank John. We thank him every show. He's always scrolling across the bottom. Check out the Sports Authorities, one of the best group, not one of, the best group out there, the best admin out there. And John has been a supporter of this show since almost day one. I don't remember, John, I try for the life of me sometimes to figure out how we hooked up, and you said, it was good to share the show. I was good to share the show on the Sports Authorities. And I think it was really the first group I ever shared the show to. And there's lots of them now, as I mentioned, dozens that allow us to share it. And we thank all of them, by the way. The ones we scroll at the bottom are just some of our special friends. And that's why John leads the pack. And a very knowledgeable guy, especially when it comes to college football, because he's a Hurricane fan. Am I wrong, John? Do you get the feeling, and we're going to talk about this when Alan comes on at 7:30, but I've got the feeling Miami struggled last week with Virginia Tech. They weren't that sharp. I mean, they win by 17. It wasn't enough for me to see them jump. Maybe Utah, because Utah give up, 8 million yards rushing. They found a way to win the game against not a good Kansas State team. But how do you jump Vanderbilt when Vanderbilt just, blows out Kentucky? And again, I'm telling you, I think the Hurricanes are better than these teams, but I feel the committee wants to find a way to slide the Hurricanes in if they don't win the ACC. It's going to be difficult. We need some losses. We're going to get at least one loss in the Big 12, and I think BYU is probably going to be the odd man out there. But who do we need to lose? Alabama could lose to Auburn. Could happen. Not likely. Who's Oklahoma got this week? I did look that up, and I felt like it could be a loss. LSU. I got them at home. But with that Oklahoma offense, and I'll talk with Alan about it, and he'll defend them. it's not beyond a reasonable doubt that Oklahoma loses this week. They'll fall behind. I'm telling you right now, if Oklahoma loses and Notre Dame, Alabama, BYU, Miami win, they're going to fall behind all of them. Miami's not, listen, Pittsburgh isn't great, but you were first, my friend. GQ always the first. The way Bama loses. I don't think so either. Where is that game, by the way? Is it at Auburn? Listen, again, in these rivalry games, you could never say never. If this game's in Alabama, I'll say never. But it's at Auburn. Stranger things have happened, Danny, especially in this season. Last week, in the last couple of weeks, really, everybody's kind of played to form, right? Nobody lost in the top 10. Nobody lost in the top 15. Yeah, you got to go all the way to USC to see a loser the last week. Oregon did a good job of taking them out. Oregon's best win of the year. It's funny. Oregon was the only team in the top 12, I believe. I believe all the ranked teams in the poll, the teams that would be in the first 12. And you got to remember, these 12 aren't getting in because you still got to slide in. Miami and BYU would be the first two teams out today. Don't forget that, because we got to have an ACC winner, and that's not Miami right now. Miami needs a win and any one of three combinations of two teams losing. Not going to happen. They're got to come in as an at-large. And you got the group of five, which right now, it's interesting. One of the interesting things about the poll, Tulane's the only team from the group of five ranked. You go to the AP poll, they've got three teams ranked from the group of five. And Navy just on the outside. Navy could still win the American. And there probably is still a scenario where the ACC doesn't get anybody. Games will get in. Hopefully, we stir things up. If they don't get in, John, they shot themselves in the foot. We know that, right? But as I saw these rankings the other night, the first thing I thought of was, why would Miami move up in front of Vanderbilt? And maybe I'm wrong, because, again, I was away. I think Vanderbilt was ahead of them last week. If I have that wrong, please straighten me out. I can't see how they move up ahead of Vanderbilt off of these two games I watched last weekend. Danny wants Jim Bora back. He's heading closer to home. He's heading closer to UCLA as he's heading to Colorado State. Listen, Jim Moore has done a really good job at UConn. He really has. UConn's in such a tough situation is they don't have a place to play. They're one of only two independents out there now, them and Notre Dame. Great job by Jim Moore. Well, the Miami could lose a bit. Absolutely, they could lose. I am in no way telling you that game is 100% in the bag. Miami just hasn't really put it together here in the second half the way they have. Carson Beck, to me, has been unremarkable the second half of the season, and certainly not earning the $4+ million he was paid to come here. Again, worth and earn, two different things. You're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you. Whether you earn it is a totally different story. And right now, Carson Beck isn't earning anything. John Gonzalez with that Bruins. What they've had the last 15 years bring back Mora. Jim Moore didn't do badly, especially out of the gate at UCLA, right? I don't know what UCLA is going to do. You know, the other thing, too, we're talking about coaches. The whole Lane Kiffin freaking soap opera. You look at, I've stuck up for Lane a lot on this show. Lane Kiffin with his team on the precipice of a playoff. And I wonder if we're going to find out Friday after the game, supposedly, the Egg Bowl, you know, what he's going to do. And if he leaves, there's no way he's going to coach there like Morris, who's leaving North Texas State for Oklahoma State. He's going to coach out the season at North Texas. That's not going to happen in Ole Miss. I guarantee you Lane Kiffin is out of there. And you almost have to be because of and they've got to make changes to this. They've got to make changes to the early signing period for recruiting. They've got to make changes, I think, to the transfer portal. Still, they have to get pushed back because now this isn't the last coach we're going to see in a playoff position and potentially leave his school. Now, what's going to be interesting to me is if Ole Miss is let's just say they lose this week and Lane Kiffin leaves, Ole Miss is going to get dropped. I think if they want to be consistent, this committee, and I know it's not the same guys, they drop them out. You took Florida State out undefeated because your quarterback was gone. You're coming off a loss to Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. And maybe even if they win, I don't know, Lane Kiffin's gone. Why can't I make a judgment that your head coach is gone and he's so important and so integral to your success, you don't deserve to be in the playoff? That's exactly what they did to Florida State 2 years ago with a quarterback. And again, Alan Perrell is going to come on with us at 7:30, and we'll talk the playoff poll and some other stuff. It would be interesting if Michigan beats Ohio State. I doubt it too, John. But again, did anybody expect Michigan to beat Ohio State last year? No. Has Ohio State been pushed? And I think Ohio State would probably be better off being pushed by Michigan, maybe even losing to them. I know that's heresy, but you saw what happened last year. Woke them up. And it's never good to lose. I'm not saying that. But it might be good for them to get pushed. And there are scenarios where Michigan can get into the final, but I believe Indiana would have to lose. If everybody stays true, Michigan upsets Ohio State and everything else stays on course, right? Meaning Indiana wins. They're not losing to Purdue. Then Oregon, I believe, gets the tiebreaker and would play Indiana. Indiana, who they already lost to. Many so-called experts wondering why Notre Dame, who lost to Miami, ahead of Miami, but hey, it only takes an eye test today. Listen, I don't know that they'd win by 21, Danny. I will tell you that Notre Dame's a better team today. One thing I do have a problem with this committee is, and Nick Saban said it, I believe, on game day last week, why are good losses better than wins? There's something wrong with that picture. I am not arguing with you whether Miami's a better team than Notre Dame right now, because they're not. Because in my opinion, Notre Dame is like the third best team in the country right now. From what I've seen, eye test. I think it's in your comment there, isn't it? Yes. Notre Dame's maybe better than Indiana. Well coached. The defense is really good. I mean, Syracuse is horrendous. Let's not forget that. But their defense and special teams were outstanding. They scored 21 points before the offense ever hit the field. They had 35 points and 34 seconds of possession time at the end of the first quarter. Again, Syracuse is no good. So I'm not arguing that they're not better. Notre Dame's better. I think both teams, when I look at the teams here, both teams deserve to be in. And why, again, do we count good losses? That counts more than wins. Why? All the games matter, do they not? And I'm not going to sit here and say that you beat them by 21. Miami losing to Louisville was a killer, absolutely, 100%. I mean, that was they should have won that game. Again, that's where Carson Beck really started to me. He has been the same player since that Louisville game. I mean, he had his moments against NC State. They need him to come up this week because, again, going on the road and winning is not easy. I don't care if we're talking about Division I football or the NFL. It's not easy. Need more athletic directors like Bo Schembechler. You want to go coach somewhere else, go now. Well, that's how many guys have stayed? Most guys leave, Danny. And that happened to sorry. Crap. Who's the coach who left when Steve Fisher took over the basketball team? Bill Frieder, right? But most college football coaches, if they take another job, they leave. I was shocked to see Morris was staying because you have to go and recruit now. You have to get recruits in. I believe the early signing period is like December 3rd, which I think is why Lane Kiffin will not be the coach at Mississippi. And I'm not saying they should. You want to leave, then leave. I think they need to move these these signing periods and the transfer portal periods back. I know all this nonsense about it, January enrollment and whatnot. Listen, it's a freaking multi-billion-dollar sport. They will figure it out. Lane should go to the Giants, Jen says. Maybe he will. Maybe he throws everybody. The thing about Lane Kiffin, it only stands to reason that the first coach who's in the playoff hunt and still in the championship hunt, the first coach, that would kind of throw this kind of wrinkle into it would be Lane Kiffin, the guy who got fired after 20 games with the Raiders, who got fired on a tarmac by USC and caused an uprising when he left Tennessee. I mean, Lane Kiffin's your guy, right? For wacky stuff. I think he's handled this horribly. I think Mississippi's not coming up with the money, or they already would have. You've seen other coaches in the same situation. And Lane Kiffin, by the way, is going to come out of this smelling like a rose. He's going to be the highest paid coach in college, no matter what he does. But if Mississippi was already, if they were going to sign him or give him the money that he wants, I think they'd have already done it. Mike Elko, locked up. Kirk Cignetti, locked up. Some of the other guys that have been talked about signed extensions. I don't know. And by the way, I think Mississippi is the best place for Lane Kiffin. Why go somewhere? Why you're going to get your money? He's already got life-altering money been paid. Oh, by the way, also got fired. By the way, the thing I left out too, he got fired the week of the championship game by Nick Saban. But he's in a great situation. Why go to LSU or Florida, where they're going to expect you to win a championship every freaking year, which isn't even remarkably a reasonable expectation. He could be at Mississippi for life. And he could win one national championship and he'd be a legend. He's already the best coach Ole Miss has ever had. I know who you meant. Did I not say Bo Schembechler? What did I say? It's funny. I was talking about this with my wife earlier. My brain still goes in the right area. My mouth won't keep up with my brain. And then when my brain stalls, my mouth won't help it out. Kiffin gets way too much credit. Why does he get too much credit? Why? I agree he needs to stay where he's at. That's where he belongs. I should have learned from going to USC where you're on a short leash. 100%. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't think he gets too much credit. I'm not going to agree with that part of the statement necessarily, Danny, because I think he's a great coach. He's a great recruiter. What else do you need from a coach? I mean, he's at Ole Miss. And you're right. Why go to LSU where you'll be on that short leash? Look what happened with Coach Kelly. Bad fit. Get rid of him. It won't be any different in Florida. I mean, they got rid of Dan Mullen with one bad season, and that was a 7-6 season. He had played in the SEC championship game the year before, or maybe it's 2 years before, whatever. And we saw Billy Napier on a very short leash for about the minute he got hired. Stay at Ole Miss, you're a hero. You win one national championship, they'll put a statue up for you. Probably, John. I think Mendoza's probably a shoe-in. The other quarterbacks have fallen by the wayside, except Pavia. I'm going to tell you right now, I think the three finalists that'll be in New York will be Mendoza, the likely winner. I think it's going to be very close. Pavia and God, the running back for Notre Dame, whose name is escaping me at the moment. I only talked about him for about an hour on Sunday, and now his name is escaping me. I think you're right. Keith, Notre Dame is top three, if not second best team in college. He could be second. I mean, I want to agree with you about Ohio State, Danny. I really do. But the problem is, I haven't seen him beat anybody except Texas. And that, again, we're not counting those games, right? That's what you kind of told me a minute ago. We don't count those games because they got played too early in the year. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but again, I think that's what happens. I think those games that happen in September, I don't know why Ohio State's playing Texas. I don't know why Notre Dame's playing Miami. If we aren't going to count those games like they never happened, at least when we're comparing head-to-head resumes, right? I will tell you, speaking of resumes, I don't know if I'll have a chance to get into it. The Athletic did like a blind resume thing today, I think with like 5 teams. Maybe it was more. To compare just numbers, right? Who should get in, who shouldn't. And Notre Dame didn't get in with 2 of the guys that were doing the picks. So that's interesting. But I do think they're the third best team in the country right now at best. But I got to see guys play. I got to see teams play. I can't tell you that Ohio State's better than Indiana until they play. I think they are. I think Notre Dame's the third best team. I think they beat Indiana. I'm not sure if we get a different result, they play Ohio State, but we'll find out. Hopefully we'll find out. Let me get through a couple more comments. Well, we got a lot of them. I'm going to try to blow through some comments quickly, and then we'll bring Alan in, who I know is probably going to disagree with some of my thoughts about the poll, excuse me. Danny's entered the transfer portal. ASU Frieder, I thought that's who you were talking about. Gonzalez, I would have to pay to go somewhere in the portal. I'd pay you, Danny. John and I agree. See, John, we don't just disagree. Lately, we've had some disagreements, I understand. Since the whole Joe Namath thing, I've been a little on John's bad side, but I'm trying to come back. What to say? Lane's dad was a legend. Monty was a great defensive coordinator. Yeah, Jeremiah Love. That's what I don't know about Jeremiah. I had Love in my head. I was afraid to say it. Thank you, John. Not Jordan Love. Michael. How are you, Michael? I can't get through these comments. I want to get Alan in here. Definitely agree. Monty was a great coach for sure. Coach Whitlane, I believe, at USC. I want to know what bowl game you think Boston College goes to. Thanks for coming in, Scott. They're going to the game up here at Shenandoah. They're going to be playing Shenandoah High School. And I think Shenandoah is a 7-point favorite in that game. Harpy's 79th birthday at Art Shell came out of Maryland Eastern Shore College. Great offensive lineman. Pretty good coach, too, by the way. Oh, no, they count games just for losing teams, not the teams that win. That seems to be what happens. Why do losses count more than wins? Let's see. Ohio State is only, Ohio State has only lost one game in the last 2 years. So far, you are what your record says you are. That's fair. Turn that around on me. You have Alan coming on. Did you have too much tapioca on the cruise? Yes. I need somebody to pick up some of the slack tonight. I'm still recovering from cruise lag. But in any event, we're going to bring Alan in. Yeah, no, we're not going to talk Oklahoma football. Jesus, nobody wants to talk freaking Oklahoma. And if he's got an Oklahoma hat on, I'm going to freaking take him off the screen. I'm going to just block his picture.
Yeah, no.
That's horseshit.
I have to do the mix because Dallas plays tomorrow, and of course we play LSU on Saturday.
We're not going to talk about either one of those teams tonight. So, how are you, Alan? Good to have you with us.
I'm doing good. It's great to be back. It's been a while. It has been
a minute, and I know I kind of, I tend to be a little hard on your team, and I should get you in here to defend yourself a little bit more. But, listen, I've talked a lot this first half hour, and even Sunday before the new poll came out. I talked a lot early that I don't know why I feel this, but this committee, first of all, they put way too much emphasis on good losses over wins. I don't understand that rationale at all. Although, again, in the Notre Dame Miami, which is the one we always hear about, Notre Dame's a better football team. I agree. They're third best team in the country in my mind. But this committee seems to want Miami to get in because they move them up off a mediocre game against Virginia Tech where they let them hang around. And Vanderbilt just demolishes Kentucky. Am I wrong that they jumped Vanderbilt? Because, again, I was away. I think Vanderbilt was ranked ahead of them last week, one spot, and they jumped them this week. I think the committee's looking for a way to get Miami in.
They're trying to get that narrative to where, hey, if chaos plays out, we can put both Miami and Notre Dame in the playoffs, so that way everybody shuts up about it. And again, I agree with you. I really like what Notre Dame's doing, but I think other than the eye test, their resume doesn't tell me that they're one of the 12 best teams. Other than the eye test, I love what they're doing offensively. I agree with you. I would have Jeremiah Love in the Heisman conversation.
Well, yeah, but the resume doesn't always get you in. We saw that with Florida State 2 years ago. I mean, they deserved to be in a 14 playoff, and they didn't get there because their quarterback got hurt. I mean, and be consistent.
And it's always been like that with the committee, right? There's always one exception, one buck to the rule that they try to find. I mean, they're trying to express the good losses, but yet the number 10 team in the country has a loss to a 5-5 Florida State team, which, if we're talking losses, we can't ignore that. Obviously, the reason why Miami's lower than what people think they should be is because of that loss to Louisville, potential loss to SMU as well.
That's not a worse loss than the Florida State game, though.
That's not. I would argue that Miami probably should be ahead of Alabama right now.
I think they should be. I agree.
Because they again, you're saying you're not valuing the wins, yet here you are saying, "Oh, Alabama beat Georgia, so they should be in the top 10." They're contradicting their own statements sometimes, and it gets frustrating dealing with this committee because, you can make a great case for the top 4 being the top 4 because Georgia only lost to Alabama. They have a lot of ranked wins. A&M, they're undefeated, so I can't really fault them for that. Indiana, Ohio State, the same way. To me personally, Keith, the most dangerous team is not even an SEC or a Big Ten team. It's Texas Tech. I love what Texas Tech is doing right now. In fact, you gave your Heisman finalist. I think I agree with Mendoza and with Love. I think the third one is Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah,
I would
pub though. He doesn't have the pub. Pavia's been the poster boy for like 6 weeks now. So
which is why they've been letting Jacob score touchdowns on offense to try and boost that. And and of course that game day in Lubbock helped him too. If they get into the Big 12 title game, that's a boost in his favor as well, because there's going to be a national media watching that.
Was that the last day of the vote, or I think it is, isn't it? Or day after, maybe.
I think so. Yeah, the title games. Yeah. So if he gets it, if they get into the Big 12 title game, people are going to be watching that. It'd be interesting if we have a Heisman finalist race where there's only one quarterback in it. Mendoza's probably going to win it by default at this point, just because of what he did against Penn State. But
all the other quarterbacks took themselves out of the race. Moore took
pretty much
out of the race. Your quarterback took himself out. Well, injury helped that, but he hasn't played well since he's played okay. He hasn't played Heisman worthy since he came out. We know Arch's struggles. So all the quarterbacks fell away except for Mendoza, who rose from kind of not nowhere, but at least as far as these other guys.
Ty Simpson as well played himself out of it against Oklahoma. So
yeah, I think Danny's right. Danny said earlier that he thinks he's a lock, and I don't disagree, because he's got that one moment. That 36-second drive against Penn State is what people are going to remember, and it was recent. There's always a recency bias. Same with the same way with the poll, right? We have a recency bias with the Heisman, so it's going to be interesting.
And what hurts Love's case is that Notre Dame doesn't have a conference title game, because your last opportunity to make an impact is
100%
is not a good team. So
whereas with that chance either, because he's not going to play in his, right? So
no, I don't think so. Yeah, and then of course with Jacob Rodriguez, who I could argue is the best defensive player in the country by far.
We know he plays defense, Scott. Defensive guys have won before.
He's literally, I would say, the only defensive player. He's the only defensive player that has a chance. I feel like when Texas Tech's offense has slipped up at times, he's been the focal point of the defense, and the defense has made big plays to keep them in games and win them games in tight situations. Which,
I always argue with people when Charles Woodson won. Charles Woodson was a defensive player. He only caught like 20 passes or something that year. He was not a huge factor on their offense. He did return punts and stuff, but he was basically one for his prowess on defense. And we've seen guys in the top 3 more than a few times. And
in a season where the quarterback play hasn't been that great to warrant 3 quarterbacks being in the Heisman race, you can argue that you could throw Jacob Rodriguez in that, especially if Texas Tech wins the Big 12 title.
Yeah. I think it with different circumstances, with that one moment, Love would be the favorite, but he doesn't have that moment, right? He had a great game Saturday. He averaged like 20 yards a carry against a really bad Syracuse team, by the way. But
now if he does that, Keith, if he does that against like a A&M or Miami, and those losses get flipped into wins, if he has an impact moment in one of those 2 games, you could say he's the front runner right now. But because he didn't really get going until after those games, and like you said, he had a big game last week, then it's Mendoza's to lose at this point.
Yeah, but then they forget about it, because again, it seems like those games in September don't even count. I'm not even sure why we're playing games in September, because none of them seem to count. Again, Miami shouldn't be penalized because their best win was 3 months ago, but they're going to be, and they already are. They are already being punished, I think. So, listen, one more thing. It's not a Heisman about. We talked about. I made a comparison earlier about Florida State getting left out 2 years ago when their quarterback got hurt. I can make an argument that if Lane Kiffin leaves Mississippi and is not coaching that team after Friday, the committee could very easily leave Ole Miss out of this top 12 because an integral part of their team will not be there. I think it's possible.
I mean, do you want to see an interim head coach at Ole Miss try to lead them in the college football playoff against one of the better teams in the conference? I don't think they have a shot if Lane Kiffin leaves. That completely derails your team. You have guys that are probably going to decommit and quit the team. It's kind of similar to what happened with Tennessee last year. You had guys who left in the portal early before the playoff game, and while you come in and say, well, it's the SEC hype, they'll take care of Ohio State, no problem. Ohio State basically ran them out the building. So
we've got to see some changes. There's got to be changes to the early commit date. There's got to be changes to the portal date. I don't care. I know we got guys got to get in school by January. I don't care. It's $1 billion freaking industry. I think they could figure it out somehow that you could push these dates back, because you can't have coaches and players leaving when you're getting at a 12-team playoff. I almost get it. I mean, I hate it, but I almost get it when they leave before a meaningless bowl game, because the bowl games don't mean a damn thing anymore. Are they quitters? Like, I get on Rick for saying yes, but something's got to change with the whole structure of the timeline of what happens here in college football, or this is going to become a mess year after year after year. I mean, North Texas, Morris is going to go coach Oklahoma State next year. He's staying, but that's the aberration. That's not the rule. And you're going to see a lot of that, especially with the group of 5 teams, right? I mean, the hot coach is always going to be up for a job, and you're going to have those teams go into a playoff, like you said, with an interim coach.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's going to hurt it too is that if Lane does leave to go to LSU, where does that leave Ole Miss? Because this is not a good year for coaching hires. James Franklin's already gone to Virginia Tech. That would probably be your second best hire, and he's already gone. I don't think you're getting Mike Gundy, because I think he's done at this point.
I don't think Gundy wants. I don't think he wants to coach anywhere else.
No. I agree with you. I don't think he would go anywhere else other than maybe be a board member or some kind of staff at Oklahoma State. But there's not really a big name coach. I would say the North Texas coach is probably one, but he's already on his way to Stillwater, so that's already another domino fallen. This is not a good offseason for coaching hires this year.
Well, the good ones, like you said, are going to get gobbled up in the good jobs. Auburn's a better job than Ole Miss. It is, unless you're Lane Kiffin. I mean, historically, Auburn's a better job. And certainly Florida and LSU are. So, yeah, they're going to be – maybe Ed Orgeron will go back to Ole Miss. So.
Oh, that would be fun. I'd love to see Coach O come back.
I don't understand Lane. I love Lane. I think he's a great coach. I think he's just a great recruiter. He's a great innovator. Maybe not the best game day coach all the time. He might make some bad, game management decisions, but I think he's a really, really good coach, and he should stay at Ole Miss, because he could win one national championship. He might go to one national championship game and he'll get a statue, and he could be there for life.
So didn't he do this last time at Tennessee, and it didn't work out, and they basically ran him out of the stadium?
Well, he left on his own. He went to take the USC job. And they had a revolt. He was probably lucky to get out of town.
I mean, I've had similar. We've had similar happen here with Lincoln Riley. And yeah, he apparently was talking to LSU or to USC even as early as the Texas game. Like after that Texas game, he had been in conversation with USC throughout the entirety of that season, and he was already 1 foot out the door. So, I mean, this is kind of essentially, if you believe all the rumors and all the news clippings of, his family's out there in Florida, or he's there in Baton Rouge, touring the town, looking at the sites, and
nobody's denying
he's been doing this since midseason under the guise of, I'm still committed to Ole Miss, which that's the case. And I feel like he's gone. Well, can I say that? I feel like he's gone, because I don't think the school would be making this kind of announcement on deciding on his future, or if on this certain thing, if he wasn't gone.
Oh, I think he's gone too. And I think the simple fact that he has not signed an extension already points to the fact that they're going to come up with the money and he's out of here. Because other big names, Mike Elko, I mentioned earlier, Signetti, these guys the teams all locked them up. The programs locked them up before they could even go talk to anybody. And Lane Kiffin did this before, by the way. He did it with LSU before they hired Brian Kelly. He flirted with them before the Ole Miss season was over. I like Lane, but he's his own worst enemy. And it's only him that this could happen to. And the first guy who's going to potentially not be there to coach his team with a chance to win a national championship, he's going to be the first guy. It's on track.
And it hurts the program at Ole Miss so much whenever if he does end up leaving, because that means you lose recruits, you lose a lot of booster money. And all that basically goes to another school. It hurts the economy there in Oxford. And you're basically having to look at what it did to us. It's like Lincoln Riley tried to leave in the middle of the night. It was such a publicity fiasco. You had to do something to try to calm down the anxiety within the school system, within the university. So you do what you do. You bring in Brent Venables, who at the time was on a really good Clemson team. He's an OU guy. He's a Bob Stoops guy. He got the Bob Stoops seal of approval, and very warranted. So he's been on the hot seat the last couple of years. I think he finally saved his job this year.
How long does that last? How does that that honeymoon last now? If again, this team's not a lock to make. I mean, they got to win. LSU, they should.
I mean, they're not a. They should beat LSU.
They're probably out. I just think if they lose at home to LSU, a team not having a year, they're going to be out.
If they lose, they're out. I would argue that no 3-loss team, regardless of its SEC or not, should deserve to get into the college football playoff, unless, of course, it's like 3-loss SMU that wins the ACC, in which case you're a conference champion. You might as well just go ahead and get in. Like Clemson last year. Clemson was a 3-loss team. They won the ACC. They got in. If you're an at-large 3-loss team, in my opinion, I feel like you didn't do enough to take control of your own destiny when it was sitting there right in front of you. Like Texas losing to Florida, or if we lose to LSU on Saturday, if that happens, yeah, I can't stand here and say, especially with a bunch of 2-loss teams in the SEC, like Vanderbilt, like, Alabama still, if A&M loses to Texas and loses the SEC championship, I still think they get in. I don't think any kind of 3-loss at-large team should get in.
Well, but they want to go to 16 teams. They want to go to 24 teams. Then you're going to have 4-loss teams in. And all you're going to do is create more of a log jam at the back, right? With all these teams trying to make an argument for the 20 through the 24th spot. Who's going to care? If you're arguing you're the 24th best team in the country and I should be in a playoff, just give it up. I'm still for, Basin Bob, go ahead and sue me. I didn't come up with this idea. I didn't steal it from you. I like a 16-team playoff with all the conference champions getting in. All of them. There'll be 11 conferences, I think, again next year with the Pac-12 back, if I'm not mistaken. That gives you 5 at-large teams. If you can't get in that, you don't belong in. That's it. Give all the conference champions a shot. All of them. It never happened because TV controls the show.
TV and the SEC commissioner would not approve of that at all. Yeah, so we got to go through the SEC and the Big Ten. They want 5 spots guaranteed for them, regardless of record. That's just ridiculous as well. Let me get through. Let's go to some of these. I've been skipping the comments here for a little bit. Let's see what's up here because I know there's going to be some brilliant stuff here. Scott Colby thinks Sayin should have a shot. Julian Sayin. Listen, you know what? He's had a really nice freshman year. I think he's a true freshman, isn't he? Mm-hmm. He's had a nice year, but people are going to
are going to discount some of his numbers because he's got the best wide receivers in the country, even though they both missed last week's game, I think. But he's not going to be a finalist. And
I mean, especially if they lose to Michigan again.
Yeah. It's funny. I wouldn't want to be Ryan Day if they lose this game. He's going to have to win a national championship game to keep his job. It's crazy. Oregon jumped Ole Miss this week. That was an interesting little development as well. He says the committee's greasing the skids for Ole Miss to miss. I think it's possible. I do think if Lane Kiffin if they lose the Egg Bowl and Lane Kiffin goes, they're definitely not going to stay in the top 12.
And that Egg Bowl this year is not a guaranteed win either, because you're going into Mississippi State, and they've been a scrappy team this year.
Tough. Feels always tough. Yeah.
They should have beat Texas, in my opinion, but a couple messed coaching decisions by Jeff Lebby, and they end up losing in overtime. But he's got the offense to do it. They played very well on defense. They can shut down Ole Miss if they're not careful.
Right. I did use the word quit. I know Rick is probably like all excited now because I used the word quit. So, but he doesn't use it in the right context. You don't blame the guys the next year and call them quitters when the quitters are all gone. That was my argument there. Ole Miss welcome Brian Kelly. No, Brian Kelly will never coach anywhere below the Mason-Dixon line ever again. He doesn't belong anywhere below the Mason-Dixon line.
Just let him go to Penn State.
I don't think he's going to. You think he's going? I do not think Brian Kelly's getting a Power 4 job again. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Maybe not right now. I could see him. Maybe he takes the North Texas job. That might be an intriguing one.
I can see him dancing with the NFL openings again this year. Maybe. I think it's a possibility. Who lied on McAfee? He lied
probably on Kiffin. Probably Kiffin.
Why lie? They all lie. And I think it was Paul Spada was talking about how Dan Lanning said the other day that I'm at Oregon for life. I love it here. Well, they all say that. Mm-hmm. I mean, Nick Saban was saying that at Miami until the minute he went to Alabama. So they all lie.
I mean, Lincoln, when they asked, there was rumors that Lincoln was going to take the LSU job. He's like, I'm the head coach at Oklahoma.
Well, you have
and then the next day he goes to USC.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to say when somebody says, are you committed to your job, coach? Well, no, I'm not. I'm looking around for something better. Nobody's going to say that. You wouldn't say that. When I actually had a job, which I'm glad I don't have anymore, if somebody said to me, Keith, are you happy here or are you looking around? I would have said, no, I'm extremely happy here, whether I was looking around or not. Nobody's going to say, yeah, I'd like to find something better. I would not allow him to coach in the Egg Bowl unless he commits to staying. I don't know if he can do that, but personally, if I'm Ole Miss, I know it's not going to happen. If he decides to leave, my best chance of winning a national championship is still keeping Lane Kiffin here, I think. Because otherwise, as you said, if Lane Kiffin stays, he might keep some of those kids here. If he doesn't, they're going to be in the portal like crazy. I think.
I mean, look at what it's already done to Penn State and Oklahoma State with the coach firings. Now that James Franklin's no longer there, they've already lost a lot of recruits. A lot of recruits in Oklahoma State have already left. A lot of recruits at Auburn and Florida have already left. So I think there was a running back from that was committed to Auburn that actually flipped to Oklahoma because of that.
One of the kids followed Franklin, right? To Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I believe so. There's a kid that's following James Franklin to Virginia Tech. So
I don't know why he didn't just coach the Miami game with Virginia Tech. They had him in the booth for about 4 hours and during that game. I don't know why.
That would have been just see him as like, it's the first coach in FBS history to coach 2 different teams in the same season.
Right. John says he's old school. He misses the regular bowl games of the past, Rose Bowl, Big Ten versus. Listen, I'm John. You know me. There's nobody more old school than me and wants my old college football back. With the mess that we have here, I still prefer the old freaking poll systems where we had all kinds of arguments at the end of the season because the writers decided who the national championship was. This was supposed to be easier, and it's a mess the way that they're doing it, I think. But
yeah, especially when you have committee members who don't exactly watch every game.
I feel like I watch more games than they do, for crying out loud.
Because I feel like if they watch every game, you would not see teams like JMU or North Texas be slided from the top 25. Because I really like North Texas's offense. I think they got a really good offense. Defense is kind of suspect, but I think they have a real good shot to win the American Conference.
You know, I'm thinking what Danny's agreeing with John here. And as I think about it, you know, those arguments, it's weird because we had all these arguments about who is the best team in the country. But now we have all these teams about who ought to get to play to see who's the best team in the country. So what have we really solved? If we've really solved anything?
Nothing really.
There's one team left standing at the end, not 2 or 3 teams that won on New Year's Day, and we got to decide which one had the best win if they're, you know, if it's that close. I mean, we go back to, I mean, I go way back, obviously, but I think one of the bigger years was in 82. I want to say 1982, when Miami beat Nebraska. Miami was 4, Nebraska was 1, Auburn was 2. Auburn wins, Miami wins. Miami gets a national championship because they beat the number 1 team. I'm okay with that type of argument, but apparently we can sell a lot of ads if we have different system.
Yeah, that's a running thing Scott's mentioned in there. It started a couple of weeks ago when we were playing Tennessee. Obviously, with our Lock It In picks, it's our college football betting show.
You're picking LSU tonight to beat Oklahoma? Nice.
I picked Tennessee to beat Oklahoma on the spread. I picked them the minus. I think they were like -5 or something like that on the spread. I picked Tennessee, and Oklahoma won the game. I picked Alabama on the spread. Oklahoma won the game. Last week, I picked Missouri on the spread. Oklahoma won the game. Sunday, I picked the Eagles on the spread, and Dallas won the game. So I'm 4 for 4 in that regard too.
Scott, they want to go to 96 teams. They're going to 76. It looks like, but this, come on, it is a money grab, all of it, and it's getting ridiculous. This is like
more games, more money is what their mindset right now.
John's absolutely right again, and kind of piggybacking off of Scott's comment there. You know, the NCAA was better when it was 32 teams. I was going to go here. Well, actually, it's a good place to segue. Let me just see what this is first. Dr. Tom Osborne, those are the days. They were a great coach. North Texas should be in over Tulane. They can get in. All they got to do is win the conference. I think they're still in. Here's the other thing. Before I get into the group of 5. With 16 and 18 team leagues, no divisions, unbalanced schedules, every freaking conference is going to tiebreakers to see who's going to play in the championship game. It's nonsense. Go back to divisions. You got to have some semblance of order. This is chaos. I need a spreadsheet to see what there's 20 different combinations the ACC championship game could be. I
mean, there's a chance, Keith, there's going to be a 6-way tie in the ACC.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Which I think works for the Miami. I'm not sure. They need to win, and they need 3. There's 3 different combinations of 2 teams losing.
They need to beat. I think the simplest one is they need to beat Pitt and have Virginia lose to Virginia Tech.
No, they need another. They need SMU.
They would get a rematch with SMU in the title game.
No, they still, even in that one, they need a second team to lose. I got it here somewhere. Hang on a second. Did I get rid of it? Shit. Maybe I got rid of it. Yeah, there's 3 different scenarios, and each one of them, 2 teams have to lose. 2. That's not good.
Which I think in this case, it would be beating Pitt, which they're a 1-loss team.
Here it is.
And then either Virginia Tech or SMU lose.
Because I got it for every freaking. I mean, this is ridiculous. ACC tiebreaker. So here's Miami's. They beat Pittsburgh while SMU and Duke lose. Then they'd have a rematch with Virginia in the championship game. They beat Pittsburgh while SMU and Virginia lose, setting up a matchup with the Duke. Good grief. Beat Pittsburgh while Virginia and Duke lose. And so every scenario, they've got to have 2 losses. And that's not SMU's not losing to Wake Forest. I don't know. Who's Duke playing? I don't think I even put Duke down on my list.
I want to say
Wake Forest. No, Wake Forest is playing Duke. SMU is playing Cal. Yeah.
Yeah, SMU Cal.
And Virginia's got Virginia Tech. Nobody's losing those games, I don't think. So Miami's path is at large, and Scott talked about greasing the skids for Mississippi. That would be one of the dominoes that the Hurricanes need. Maybe Oklahoma, maybe Alabama. Again, Danny said they can't lose to Auburn. They're going to Auburn. They could lose. I'm not saying they will.
Here's the thing about that. My hot take, I think they do lose to Auburn.
That's a hot one.
The thing is, they struggle against good running teams. I mean, go look at the Florida State game. Xavier Robinson had a big game against them a couple weeks ago. They struggle against fairly good defenses, which Auburn's a fairly good defense. And last I checked, one of the quarterbacks on their roster had 131 yards rushing against Alabama last year in an upset win. So that being one Jackson Arnold. So he's been in this situation before. And I feel like what Auburn's going to do is they're going to utilize both quarterbacks.
Yeah,
you're going to utilize both quarterbacks because both quarterbacks have the ability to run the football. And I would say just throw them both out there at once. Because then you'd have an Alabama defense who, honestly, they're not as good as people think. That would confuse them a little. It would confuse them a little bit.
Well, there's been some teams that have done that, not for entire games, right? But a different spot. I feel like SMU did it a little bit last year. We put 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time. I think Utah did it a few times this year as well. I was trying to get, and I haven't been able to get there because this is like the Sunday stream of consciousness right now. The group 5 is kind of so wide open. Tulane is the highest ranked team, the only ranked team in the playoff poll, but there's 3 of them ranked in the AP poll. I think it's very telling, and I thought this when you made a comment a couple of weeks ago about the doomsday scenario of no ACC team getting in there, which, by the way, could still happen if chaos reigns on Saturday. There could be an ACC team left out. It's unlikely, but it could happen. But I think it's very telling that the committee, and I don't like that they do this. They don't show you any rankings they have past 25. And I think they should do that. So when a team slides up, like they would have done somehow in your doomsday scenario previous, I like some transparency when they kind of slide somebody up there all of a sudden. I think it's Tulane or North Texas gets in. I like James Madison a lot, but I don't think there's any scenario where, by the way, one of these teams is getting in. Navy's still alive too, by the way. They could still win the American. They had 44 points in the AP poll, so they're not that far out of top 25.
Navy could win the American, still lose the Army, and still get into the college football playoff.
Yeah, because that game's a non-conference game, I think the final polls out before that Army-Navy game is even played, right?
Yeah, so they would be locked in regardless of what that result against Army would be. So
that'd be interesting. I still think it comes down to North Texas and Tulane. I think that's the most likely. Again, I think I saw the scenarios. I believe the most likely is North Texas against Tulane, and the winner of that's going to be the highest ranked team in this college football poll. Do you disagree? I know you're a big James Madison guy.
Yeah, I think the fact that James Madison doesn't have an AP opponent this year,
right,
kind of hurts them a little bit. Their only Power 4 game they played, technically 2 because if you count the Pac-12's Washington State, but or Pac-2's Washington State, but their only Power 4 team they did lose to in Louisville. Although it was a really competitive game, if you go back and watch it, they did play very well against Louisville in that game. So
they did. What's
see, Danny, you tried this last time, and what happened? Alabama lost.
Danny's swamming it here. Flo's with us tonight. Hello, Flo. How you doing? He hopes Alabama wins. Why would he hope Alabama wins?
No, he said he hopes Auburn wins.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why would you hope Auburn? Who's hoping Auburn wins? You are. Actually, that'd be good for you. I'm sorry. That would be good for you, right?
That would be really good. I mean, honestly, I think regardless if Alabama wins that game or not, I think we'd still be in if we beat LSU. So
if you beat LSU, you're in. You're not dropping from 8 to 14, or even 12. That's not happening. I don't think. Well, maybe you drop. If you win, you're not dropping. Who's going to jump ahead of you? Although the committee seems to want Miami to get in. That's got something to watch.
Here's the thing: you have Auburn beat Alabama. Obviously, if it's BYU, Texas Tech in the Big 12 title game, I still think Texas Tech is the better team. That would drop them out. That puts the scenario where you have Miami and Notre Dame right next to each other.
Yeah.
And now you have to take head-to-head into consideration, and you have to put Miami ahead of Notre Dame. Otherwise, it's not a good look.
The committee has virtually said bad losses are better than good wins. I'm sorry, good losses.
But if you're right next to each other, if you have that scenario where you have, let's say, Notre Dame 10, Miami 11, you have to put Miami over Notre Dame. If they're if they're right next to each other, and they've even said this on camera too, it's like they're not in the same competitive grouping. Well, guess what? If Alabama loses to Auburn and Texas Tech wins the Big 12, that puts Miami right next to Notre Dame. And that puts the committee in a spot where they may not have a choice but to move Miami above Notre Dame at that point. Otherwise, it may create chaos. No pun intended. But
I don't know how to tell Scott I found a new partner for the bocce tournament at the home, so maybe this was the best place to break it to you. I feel bad now, Scott. What were your own personal? I know you like to rank them yourself. What was your own personal rankings this week, Alan? Curious.
I mean, the top four I agree with. Ohio State, Indiana were really good. A&M hasn't lost a game, although it's still there. If there's one team I have no faith in this top 12 right now, it's Texas A&M. I think they could get got this week by Texas, and then of course they would still be in the SEC title game, but I still think they would lose that too. Georgia, I'm okay with. They're at 4. Texas Tech, I think they're the sleeping giant that could potentially undermine a lot of these teams in this playoff this year. Oregon, I'm okay with, although I'm not sold on them really.
I'm not sold on Oregon either. That Penn State team that looks so great doesn't look so great, obviously. So their other signature win is the only. Going into this week, they were the only team in the top 12 that didn't have a win over a top 20 team. Mm-hmm. And USC may not be the top 20 team before the season's over.
Especially if they lose to UCLA this week.
Could happen. Yeah. Danny, where are you now?
And Ole Miss for now, yeah, I guess, as long as Lane Kiffin's still there. Oklahoma, obviously, I'm going to be okay with. You've got 5 ranked wins. And your best losses are to 2 top 10 teams in, technically top 15 teams in Texas and Ole Miss. So I'm good with Oklahoma. Notre Dame, to me, the only thing I like Notre Dame on is the eye test. The eye test, they look great. The eye test, they're one of the best teams in college football. If we're doing the whole body of work, if we're doing the resume thing, I think they're on the outside looking in. If we do the whole body of work. If we're just doing the eye test, yeah, absolutely Notre Dame deserves to be in. But if we're doing the entire body of work, as in strength of schedule, strength of record, wins and losses, head-to-heads, I can't have Notre Dame ahead of Alabama. I can't have Notre Dame ahead of Miami. I can't have Notre Dame ahead of BYU. Because right now, I think BYU has the better strength of schedule, strength of record. Not only that, I would say you want to talk about having great losses. I think BYU has the better loss
if they go to the Big 12
Notre Dame's too.
But if they go and they're going to be penalized, they're probably better off not making the Big 12 championship game, because if they lose, they're going to be out.
Well, I mean, there's no chance of that happen unless they lose another game. So, because Utah has 2 losses in conference, so there's no way that can happen right now. It would be BYU and Texas Tech.
So if Texas Tech wins out, like
as of right now, I would still put BYU ahead of Notre Dame, but I think eventually Texas Tech will knock BYU out of the playoff race entirely.
I got to tell you, I'd leave Notre Dame where they. I think Notre Dame probably deserves 9. I said from the minute they lost those 2 games, if they won out, they'd be in. But I would move Miami up to 10, ahead of Alabama, ahead of BYU, and ahead of Vanderbilt. I'm in a coach's bowl. Jesus, what am I doing? I got the wrong thing here.
I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah, ahead of Alabama.
Your best win is your 2 losses are better than Alabama's 2 losses. Although, yes, they're going to say, well, the OU loss was a top 8 loss, but your other loss is 5 and 6 Florida State.
You realize you're going to get a 3-loss ACC team in there when Georgia Tech wins a freaking championship game.
I mean, SMU too. SMU's a 3-loss team. Yeah. So
I think of all this, and again, there's like 20 different scenarios in the ACC, but I think that's the most likely one is SMU and Georgia Tech, assuming Miami beats Pittsburgh. You get a 3-loss team for sure, but they're the champion. You got to take them, or do you? Where are they going to be ranked?
Yeah,
because true. Georgia Tech's going to get smoked by Georgia this week. Georgia's playing really good football, and they're going to fall out of the top 25. SMU better jump in. Because if Miami's going to be ranked.
I think SMU is in the top 25, I do believe. I think they're in the bottom 20s. They're in the high 20s right now.
Georgia Tech's 23. Pittsburgh's 22. They both lose this week. They're both going to fall out of this poll.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to leave the door open for your doomsday scenario when Miami finishes 11th.
SMU is 21. So, yeah, they are. SMU is 21, so they are ranked.
So they're all there. Yeah, so they'd have to win. But here's my point: if Georgia Tech loses to Georgia, it doesn't affect their ACC standing at all. They're going to get whacked this week. They're going to fall out. Then they beat SMU, say in the ACC championship game. They're probably going to move them up high enough so that not 2 group of 5 teams get in here. But there's still that possibility that you opened up last week. I don't think they'd ever let it happen. I think that's why they don't show you where the teams are below 25, so they can slide somebody up if they need to.
I really think they just don't rank beyond 25. They just take the 25 best teams and then call it a day. They don't rank beyond that. They just leave everybody else in the know.
I guarantee you they have a list of teams down to 40. I guarantee it. Not that they want to publish. Why wouldn't everybody with a vote? Well, they don't. I don't know how they vote because we don't see the points or anything. So I don't know exactly how these are tallied, right? We don't know how far 9 is ahead of 10, right? We don't know that.
Supposedly, they break these up in groups. Like they take the first 4 teams and rank them. Then they take the next 4 teams and rank them that way. And
yeah,
then
but they don't know how far you are away from getting into that next group. We don't know. That's all in their secret head vault.
It's whatever they decide is the best thing at this point, I guess.
Listen, Flo's got a great point here, I think, too. The committee wants Texas in. If Texas beats Texas A&M, they're going to have a chance. They're going to jump a lot. I mean, they're where are they now? 16.
They're 16.
Right? They're jumping Michigan. They're jumping unless Michigan beats Ohio State, which I don't think is going to happen. They're going
again, and I know they're trying it, but if you're a 3-loss team going for an at-large bid, I don't think you deserve to get in, especially if there's a lot of 2-loss and 1-loss teams ahead of you. I don't think you deserve to get in.
Well, they would be what do they got? They're 8-3. They'd be 9-3. So right. Well, again, the only way
especially since your worst loss is 3-win Florida.
Yeah, I can't see them jumping any team that doesn't lose this week, right? I'm sorry, in the top 12. I mean, if Miami wins, they're going to stay there. But BYU wins, they might find a way to rationalize jumping. One loss.
I don't even think they're. I don't even think they're beating Texas A&M. To be honest, I know they're at home, but I don't think they're beating Texas A&M.
You watch them ahead of Ole Miss. If Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State, guarantee you Mississippi State tumbles like crazy. I'm sorry, Mississippi. Now Texas needs some help. I mean, Oklahoma's got to lose. Ole Miss would have to fall. Alabama would have to fall. Because, again, getting to 11 or 12 for Texas is no good. You got to get to 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And they don't play in the SEC title game. They're already out of that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I have refrained, Flo, from mentioning that $55 million they spend at Texas Tech because you're right. Everybody else spends a bunch of money, too. Flo had to call me out one day because I had a habit all this year saying $55 million well spent, which I think it is. I'm not really saying they did anything wrong.
They've renovated a lot of things in Lubbock from everything I've heard.
Done a great job.
Doing a great job building that program.
You know what? There's a coach in McGuire. Is he going to stay at Texas Tech or go look for greener pastures? You know,
I think he'll stay at Texas Tech because right now they look like I think they're the class of the Big 12 right now. I don't see, maybe BYU can continue to give them a scare, but I don't see Kansas State or Kansas being up there.
Even with the Big 12 being looked at as, second class citizens by the Big 10 and the SEC, you think those coaches aren't looking to break the glass ceiling and get themselves into those two conferences?
Yeah, because I think what McGuire's done at Texas Tech, this is, like I said earlier, this is a team that can challenge these SEC and Big Ten teams in the playoff this year. I know we're speaking the Notre Dame's a top 3 team, but I think Texas Tech is up there as well. I think they could spoil some playoff dreams this year.
All I would say is, I don't know what his contract is now, but Texas Tech better get prepared to pay him a lot of money because somebody's going to be knocking on his door eventually. Maybe soon. Who's this? Scott, top 4 in his Texas Tech, 2. Indiana, Texas A&M. Georgia's got to be in the top 4 in my mind. Georgia's playing as good as anybody in the country right now. I said earlier in the year that, they were lucky to get by Tennessee and what was the other game they struggled? Was it Alabama? Was it Alabama they struggled with?
They lost to Alabama.
There was another team they got by just barely. Maybe it was Vanderbilt. But anyway, I think Georgia's playing now as good as, again, right this minute, as good as anybody in the country.
So here I looked this up. Here are the top 4 teams defensively in points per game. Ohio State, obviously, 7.6. They're number 1. Kind of a surprise team that I don't think that they would be able to crash the playoff. But San Diego State, who's 9-2 right now, is the second best defense points per game wise in college football.
Technically alive for that group of 5.
Technically. And then 3 and 4 are Indiana and Texas Tech.
There's so many teams and so many different variables with schedules and whatnot. I have a hard time putting a lot of faith in, per game averages of defense or offense, and because there's just too many variables, who played who and who didn't. But
I've watched a couple Tech games this year. Both of them were big games. One was against Utah, and then I believe the other one was BYU, and they pretty much dominated both of those games. So I think they can. I think they can do the same thing too. If teams aren't prepared for them, they can do the same thing to a Georgia or to a I would pick Texas Tech over Texas A&M right now.
Who'd they lose to? BYU or Utah? I don't remember. Oh, Arizona State. Arizona State. What am I talking about? Right? Arizona State.
Yeah. That was also with the backup quarterback, I believe. So.
Yeah, well,
and Arizona State's one of those scrappy teams you just can't figure out sometimes.
No, well, because either the quarterback or the wide receivers hurt every week, so you have to kind of figure out, which one of them's playing. Mm-hmm. Danny's talking about, I don't disagree with this, Danny, and you could say hundreds of years because it feels like we've been playing college football for hundreds of years, but at least 100 years. You're right. It's best to lose early. I'm not saying that's wrong because again, there's a recency bias. I keep saying it all the time. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. There's always a recency bias because what we've seen the most recent is what we remember. And what's this part says he's not going to use? I learned from somebody just recently. I disagree with it, but I'm not going to use it. You are what your record says you are. I know what you're talking about. It's true. But again, it's also true that they have the same record and one of them beat the other one 4 months ago. If Notre Dame's 10-2, they get in. I don't disagree. They're not falling backwards now, Scott. There's no way. They don't drop Notre Dame from 9. And they're not losing to Stanford.
No.
So.
Although the way Stanford played last week, I wouldn't say it will be a blowout per se unless Notre Dame just wants style points, then it probably will be. Well,
they put up style points basically every week since week 2. So, and they've done it. Again, that's why I'm not upset about. You get blown out, you get blown out. I'm not as long as style points matter and margin of victory matters, and you got to do some of these things. Scott talks about the possibility of an 8-9 matchup with Notre Dame and Oklahoma, which is a very real possibility. Mm-hmm. I think you'd probably want to turn your TV off early, Alan.
No, I think we actually beat Notre Dame.
Come on, give me one rationale why you would beat them. Your defense.
We faced the best running back in the country last week and shut him down.
Who's that?
Ahmad
Hardy. Yeah.
Who was the only play? Well, I know their quarterback situation is terrible, but when you hold that guy to under 100 yards, it's a great day for your defense.
Well, that's pretty easy when you don't have to worry about the quarterback. I mean, come on. They're not going to score.
I think we're underestimating how good this OU defense really is.
I think it's really good. I don't think it's better than Notre Dame's, and I think Notre Dame's offense is head and shoulders above Oklahoma, though.
I mean, yes, offensively they're better right now, but I think our defense still wins us this game. Plus, we're at home.
I give you credit for one thing. I always do this. You stick by your team. I like that.
I legitimately think we can beat Notre Dame. I'm not scared of Notre Dame. I'd be more scared if we had to rematch Alabama.
If you're going to bet the game, come to me. I'll book your bet for you.
I'll just pick Notre Dame on the money line so that way we win.
You have to have a 26th and 27th team because you have to decide who's 25th. Yeah, look at it. It's crazy. It's going to get crazier because it's not staying here. I guarantee you they get their way and we get to 24 teams. I guarantee you. I don't know when, but we will.
Supposedly they're pushing that decision back to January, so they're going to make that.
Push it back to like 2050 when I'm dead. And God, please. If you're in the SEC and you have 3 losses, you will most likely get in. I don't disagree.
No, I can't. Not even the SEC. Because
it all depends on what happens behind you. If you lose this game, you'll get in depending on what happens behind you.
Like if it's complete chaos and you have just a bunch of 3-loss teams sitting there, okay, I get it if you want to stack them up against each other. But if you have a bunch of 2-loss and 1-loss teams ahead of you still, there's no way I could put a 3-loss SEC team ahead. Because to me, that just says you didn't do enough to earn it. If you have 3 losses, you didn't do enough to earn that spot.
He did add over a 2-loss ACC or Big 12 team. Well, they're not. Nobody in the Big 12, they're not getting 2 teams in. The ACC's got no shot at getting 2 teams in.
Yeah. Not unless Miami gets in an at-large and you have the ACC champion.
Yeah, I still
That's
think
the only way you get. That's the only way you get 2 teams in.
Yeah, they probably got a better shot than. Well, the Big 12 could get 2 teams in if BYU were to beat Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. I think they'd get 2 teams.
I think they said it last year. They take conference championships into effect too. So
that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good for Oklahoma, by the way.
Which is why they kept SMU in last year. So
yeah, that would be bad for Oklahoma if
that kind of would.
Yeah,
that might be bad for Notre Dame too. They might put BYU in over Notre Dame.
I doubt it. I can't see it. Well, BYU would be in. The scenario I just said, they'd win the Big 12, so they'd be in. So it comes down to Texas Tech. Texas Tech isn't falling. I don't think losing the Big 12 championship game. You're not falling from. Where are they? 7.
They're 5 right now. They're 5.
They're not falling from 5 to 11. I don't think.
I mean, if that scenario happens right now, that kicks
great facility.
That kicks Alabama out right now if they fell to 10.
Well, what's his buyout though? When did they extend him this year? Is he one of the guys that got extended, Flo?
Yeah, I believe so. I think he was already extended.
Big money. We talked about this earlier. Jim Mora moving on from UConn. Jim Mora did a really good job at UConn, by the way, which is like right now like the desert in college football because they don't have a league. They can't schedule anybody any good and probably for the best. But I think Jim Moore did a pretty good job there, and I'm glad he's moving on. And Colorado State's not a terrible job. That Mountain West is underrated, I think.
Well, Colorado State's going – are they one of the teams jump into the Pac-12 next year?
I believe they might be. Now that I think about it, I think you're right. I've forgotten that list now. It's been so long. North Texas is one of them. Who are they?
Yeah. They mentioned that it's ahead of the Pac-12 move. So he's going to be. They're going to be in the Pac-12.
That's funny. It's not going to be the Pac-12. You know,
it's going to be the Pac-8.
Well,
Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State. Oregon State, San Diego State, Utah State, Washington State, Texas State, and basketball-wise, Gonzaga.
Yeah, right, Gonzaga. So it's not Colorado State staying in the Mountain West. Won't be as good as what it was, that's for sure.
Oh, no, they are moving to the Pac-12. Colorado State is.
Oh, they were on that list? They were on that list? Yeah, the Mountain West takes a beating there. Jeez, good grief. Both basketball and football, they take a beating. I know they've also rated below them, which, again, if we just go through the whole scenario, would take all night. Scott kind of talks about what I mentioned with Notre Dame. They can throw the ball, and their defense is better than Oklahoma. I said at least as good. I at least gave Allen the fact that they were on par.
Scott, we have a show later tonight. Don't make me steal your pudding cup, sir.
Scott, by the way, this stat is not right because they were up 35-0 with 34 seconds of time of possession at the end of the first quarter. They were up 21-0 before they touched the football on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure.
Syracuse is. I don't know what happened to them.
I was at a 60-degree pool in Florida when that was happening, so I could be wrong about this because a lot of me was frozen.
It was 21-0 before they even touched the ball on offense.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was 35-0. They had 34 seconds of time of possession at the end of the first quarter. I could be wrong. Scott's usually pretty good there. I could be wrong in that. So there's McGuire's 6 years, $26 million. I went to Perth. The math is $4.5 million or something like that. Sound right?
Yeah, 2022. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, flows right on that one. That's
not a lot of money when Auburn comes knocking on the door. That's not a lot of money.
That's true.
You know, I don't know what his buyout is, but
although if there's one SEC job I wouldn't take, it would be the Auburn job.
No, I'm just using an example, right? But those teams are going to come calling eventually. Maybe not this year, but they'll come calling eventually. And you're not going to have that many. How about Ole Miss? They're going to pay him twice that if he were to go Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin left. I'm just saying. I think you're going to have to pay him more than that eventually. Flo.
What helps him though is Jerry Maguire's a Texas Tech grad. Maguire's a Texas Tech grad. He's from that area. He's from Lubbock. He's a hometown hero there.
Oh,
and that helps them out tremendously in the fact that he's going to want to stay there.
I hear that all the time about him. I hear it about Clark Lee. I hear it about Dillingham. But how many tens of millions of dollars is that worth?
I would argue, Keith, I don't know if this is a hot take. I would argue hiring Kenny Dillingham over Lane Kiffin for LSU because I think he fits the program better.
I think that's a good hot take. And I think, listen, I don't think Lane's smart going to either one of these programs because the leash gets, Danny mentioned it earlier. When he went to USC, he already had this situation where the leash is going to be a lot shorter than it is at Ole Miss. And I just don't think he's a good fit at either one of these schools. He's a great fit where he is. He's making a mistake. You know, we're talking about Lane again right now. James, welcome. Good to see you tonight. And do you have breaking news that he signed with LSU, James, and your team? I'm like, James, I haven't even asked you if you want him to be your head coach. I'm not sure how the LSU fans feel. I did talk to some LSU fans actually on my cruise, and they're not all enamored with the fact that Lane Kiffin may be heading their way.
Yeah, Scott and I do a baseball show with a certain LSU fan, and I'm sure he doesn't want Lane there either. So,
you know, it was a great.
I personally think Kenny Dillingham's a better hire because I think he's a better fit with the culture at LSU. But
I think he's a more stable guy, right? I mean, Lane's just kind of, you know, he's quirky, and I don't know how well he's going to fit at either one of those.
It's always going to, especially with the media drama he had this year, like, you know, saying teams were, you know, doing the sign stealing thing again and all that mumbo jumbo, and it's like I feel like he was just doing that to cover up the fact that, hey, I got family that's visiting Florida and Baton Rouge right now, so don't pay no attention to that.
Well, you know, it's funny, and Lane's also, by the way, his like off the field life is not the most like stable. He left his wife, him and his wife split up. He got a new young girlfriend. Now he's reconciled with his wife, and his wife is out here, the one, him and his daughter, her and her daughters, the one visiting these schools. So maybe she's going to make the call.
Apparently, his family attended an LSU booster meeting. So,
did they use any fake Cajun accents while they were there?
I don't know.
A strictly Brian Kelly thing.
I don't know what was worse, Brian Kelly's fake Cajun accent or Liam Cohen trying to do the Duval chant.
That was bad, actually. So McGuire says he wants to die at Texas Tech. Yeah, I remember a lot of coaches saying they want to die where they are and leaving very soon after. But I hope he stays. Listen, I want him to stay. Stay at home.
I was going to say, Lincoln Riley said the same thing to us, and look what happened.
All said, look what Nick Saban told the Dolphin fans for 4 months while the Bama was chasing them around. Guess what happened?
Yeah.
When money's always going to talk, man. I mean, I get it, Flo. I mean, he wants to stay there. Yes, the last part of this is important. He gets another extension, then I don't have an argument. I'm telling you that $4 million or $4.5 million a year is like peanuts today. James Franklin just washed out of Penn State and got more than that to go to Virginia Tech. So he's great. And I think I want him to stay where he is. I want more guys to have that type of loyalty. But again, the money's too big. I'm going to go a little bit long if you're all right, Alan.
That's fine.
Can't go too much longer, but we will. Since James just came in, and I'm sure he's got some insight here. So LSU's offering $90 million plus $25 million NIL money. You'll take Lane if he chooses you. I like Lane. I one of the few guys.
He's a good coach. He's a great offensive mind. The off the field stuff is what I worry about, especially in LSU.
I mean, I read in the Athletic today, and they're absolutely right that it's perfect that Lane Kiffin is the first coach who may end up in a situation of leaving his team while they're in the chase for a national championship, when he's the guy who, coached 20 games and got fired at the Raiders, went to Tennessee for 1 year and got chased out of town barely without getting tarred and feathered, got fired on the tarmac at USC, and went to Alabama and got fired by Nick Saban the week of the championship game. Only this stuff can happen to Lane Kiffin. So it's kind of fitting. He might be the first guy not to be on the sideline as his team. Would it be hilarious? It turns into a Michigan situation. And before your time, Alan, we talked about a little bit earlier when Bill Frater, the basketball coach at Michigan, took the job at Arizona State, and he planned on staying and coaching his team in the NCAA tournament. And the AD said, Mo Schembechler said, "No, you're out of here today." And Steve Fisher, his assistant, took the team all the way to the national championship in basketball. So it'll be very interesting if that happens.
It'll be interesting. It depends on who their interim is going to be if that does happen.
Scott, if you're betting Columbia basketball, you and I have got to have a conversation, man.
That's our thing on Lock It In. We like betting small schools, especially in basketball.
We need an intervention here, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Our thing is our team show is Hawaii football, and then we bet against Green Bay college basketball.
Hawaii football. You're the only two guys following Hawaii football that aren't actually in Hawaii. Guaranteed.
Hey, they actually haven't been bad this year. Hawaii hasn't been a bad team. They're going to finish in the top half of the Mountain West this year. So not a bad team this year.
Yeah, Rick is one of these Lane Kiffin haters. And he did make some bonehead calls there. I said before, his game management sometimes is lacking. I can tell you, though, that he's very innovative.
His game management almost cost him the game against us.
He's a great recruiter. He gets great athletes, man, and he's always going to have really good teams. Is he going to win a bunch of national championships? No, but if he wins one at Mississippi, they build a statue for him. Mm-hmm. If he wins one at LSU, they're going to say, well, when you win the next one? That's just generational money wherever you go. He's going to be the highest paid coach in college football, no matter what. Stay where you are. It's where you belong. But it's unlikely to happen.
It's less drama than when you go to a team like a Florida or an LSU, because they have that history and that expectation of, hey, we need you to come and fix this program so we can be on top of the conference again.
Yeah, well, the leash is very short. Ask Brian Kelly. Ask Billy Napier. Ask Dan Mullen. Ask. Oh God, who did I talk about? Who won the national championship last with LSU? Ed Orgeron. Ask Ed Orgeron. Mm-hmm. He won a national championship. He was fired less than 2 years later. I mean, obviously there was some other stuff going on there, but Ed had
Les Miles before him as well.
Les Miles, another great example. I mean, LSU, I think, has James, I'm sorry, I think we've talked about this. I really believe LSU fans have an zealous opinion of who they actually are in the world of college football. They're a great program. They're not a blue blood. They're not Alabama. They're not Oklahoma. We talked about this a few weeks ago, right? They're not Nebraska even. Nebraska's not relevant today, but they were blue blood for decades. They're not USC, again, down at the present time, but these are programs that won for decades and decades and decades. LSU had good football programs, but they didn't start winning national championships until recently, relatively recently. And they fired all three. One left.
Yeah, Saban left for Miami.
Yeah, Saban left, but the other two guys get fired a couple years after they win. I don't know what they're thinking about there. And then you hire a guy who, this was the worst fit possible, right? That guy should not coach in the South. Over under 4 years on Kiffin at LSU. Under.
Yeah.
Under.
Yeah. I mean, LSU football is kind of the mecca there in Louisiana, though, right? Because the Saints aren't that good historically, other than take out 2009. in 2006. They're not good historically. The Pelicans, formerly the Hornets, are not that great of a basketball team.
James is shouting at me now.
LSU has baseball. They're great at baseball. Don't get me wrong. They're one of the best baseball teams in the country. Softball, they're pretty great. But other than that, it's like
they've been relevant.
Gymnastics too. I guess if we're throwing all the sports out there, gymnastics they're great at too. But football has been.
I'm just saying, when I say they're not a blue blood, I mean you can't go back to the 30s and the 40s and say they were a great program. Yeah, they were relevant in 2000 and since. Pretty much since Saban got there, right? Saban wins a national championship. Les Miles, I think, followed Saban. Did he? I'm pretty sure. James, you can tell me.
Yeah, I think it was Les Miles came in right after Saban went to Miami. So, because Les was at, I want to say Les Miles was at Oklahoma State at that point.
I got James to yell at me though. That's sure.
Yeah, they were relevant in the 2000s. They beat us.
No, look. They've had a really good competitive football program and won three national titles since then. That's good. Listen, I'm a Hurricane fan. Miami Hurricane fans think that they're a blue blood too, and guess what? They're not. They're a great program.
Although I will say though, the 2007 one was kind of lucky. Because that year was complete chaos.
It was, but Miami was really good, great. A great program from about 1982 to 2004. But other than that, they've been basically irrelevant more often than not. So I'm coming from a guy who also has a fan base who thinks they, were anointed something because they won a bunch of national championships over a 20-year period. That's what I said. 3.
Yeah, Saban in 03, Les Miles, and I want to say 07, the crazy year, and then Ed Orgeron in 19.
He's got me. 1958, Billy Cannon. There you go. There was a movie, by the way, that oh God, never mind. I shouldn't go there, James. Maybe you can help me out. Everybody's All American. Everybody's All American, I think was the name of the movie, and the star was Dennis Quaid. I want to say that movie was based loosely on Billy Cannon, James. I wonder if you can confirm that for me. Great movie. Everybody's All American. If you haven't seen it, Alan, watch it. You'll like it. Good movie.
2011, I want to say, was like the 9-6 game against Alabama, wasn't it?
We don't talk about losses. We talk about wins.
Right.
This isn't the committee. We're not the playoff committee here.
Yeah, and I'm very. By the way,
I'm going long just to let James vent on me now.
I'm very thankful for Auburn in 2014 because that had allowed us to beat Alabama in that Sugar Bowl that year. So
great movie.
Because there was that I don't know if you remember. There was the argument that the title game should have been Auburn Alabama again.
Yeah,
and leave Florida State out of it. Or whoever they were facing at that time, leave them out of it. But they put that really good Alabama team in the Sugar Bowl against an OU team that had a triple three-headed quarterback at that point because you had Trevor Knight, you had Blake Bell, and cast of others. And we ended up beating them in that game. And they gave us zero chance to win. So never say these teams don't have the chance to win because when the push comes to shove, again, Tulane beating USC a couple years ago in the Rose Bowl, which was a great game.
I want to talk to you about Oklahoma in the 70s because remember
the Billy Sims era with the
Billy.
Barry Switzer.
They had running backs coming out of they're behind for crying out loud. Barry Switzer was just like, it was running back you. That was just a great football team. And I wanted to find out whether you went back, because you remember a few years back, many years back now, almost 6 years ago now, when you and I first started conversing, I said, you need to learn some of the history of your teams, Alan. And I think you've done that.
I mean, I did my homework. My Cowboy history now goes back to when the team first started. So
that's very good because when I first met you, I went back to like 1992 or something, I think, isn't it?
Like I found out there have only been 2 quarterbacks in our team history that have shared the same number, and that was Don Meredith and Quincy Carter. Both wore number 17. So
Don Meredith was a lot better.
I liked Quincy Carter. I think there was a lot of untapped potential. He just kept getting hurt. He kept getting hurt. The team, Dave Campbell was not a good head coach.
Dominant.
They had to make that change. They brought Bill in. Obviously he did very well. He brought Testaverde in, so that kind of made me think, okay, there goes Quincy's job. But at the very same time, it gave us Tony Romo. So I'm thankful for what Bill did to the team.
You know what? Bill brought in Testaverde. He brought in Drew Henson. He brought in Drew Bledsoe, and he had freaking Romo under his nose the whole freaking time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Also, remember when he brought Keyshawn in?
Yeah,
that was a treat.
Well, I'm impressed that you've gone back because one of my problems is always with younger guys like yourself is they think their teams and the sports they follow started when they started following it, and they don't
like this generation's Patriot fans that think that the NFL started in 2000 and Tom Brady is our Lord and Savior.
Yeah, I was suffering for 40 years before that. Well, not that whole 40. I was born in 60, and became a fan probably in 70-ish. So I suffered for 30 years. 30 years. None of you guys did that. Bandwagon jumpers. Should have been born early.
The 70s, that was back when they were running the wishbone a lot.
Ron Meyer
in that time.
Ron Meyer was a coach there for a while, and he thought he was still running the Pony Express from SMU, and he was running the wishbone there. And Chuck Fairbanks, they liked hired college coaches back then. Chuck Fairbanks they hired from Oklahoma. But he was a really good coach. They did really well in the early mid 70s with Chuck Fairbanks before he left. He pulled a Lane Kiffin and left before the season was over. Went to Colorado.
Barry was a great college coach. I did not like him coaching Dallas. I did not like Barry Switzer coaching Dallas. And I know they won that Super Bowl in '95, but that was Jimmy Johnson's team.
Barry coached it. Troy Aikman says he didn't coach it.
I feel like winning that Super Bowl actually put us in the predicament that we are in now, the endless years of mediocrity, because that Super Bowl win inflated Jerry Jones's ego to where he said, I can do this by myself without Jimmy. And here we are now 30 years later.
Good job.
And I blame you, Neil O'Donnell, for throwing 2 passes right to Larry Brown.
You know what? I used to always say about Neil O'Donnell. Neil O'Donnell was a decent quarterback, but he'd figure out he was Neil O'Donnell at some point and always make a big mistake. He did it that game. Right? Anyway, Alan, this has been fun today. I appreciate you coming in and bantering with me for a while. And I wish your team I guess I can't wish your team luck this week. I really need them to lose. So the Miami can sneak in here somehow.
We'll win, and then you can have Auburn beat Alabama, and you'll be fine.
I don't know. I need 2 teams in front of us to lose. Remember, can't finish 11th. Got to finish 10th.
Then have Texas Tech win the Big 12, and you'll be fine.
Unless we find a way to win the ACC, then it's irrelevant. So yeah, we'll see.
With the season that the ACC is having this year, it could probably happen.
It probably could. It's been a crazy football season, that's for sure. I'll tell you that. One thing, if anybody who said the playoff would have ruined the regular season is wrong, because every week it's chaos and it's all relevant, right? So here we are still arguing about week 1. So Great stuff. Alan, thanks for coming in.
Hey, guys, thank you for having me. That's been fun.
Guys, I appreciate you all for coming in tonight, and Alan for joining me. I'll be back on Friday with Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook, and we'll have, I think we're going to do maybe an MLB update on Friday afternoon, and of course the Sunday stream of consciousness Sunday morning. We'll catch you then. Catch Alan's stuff. Alan, give yourself a little plug before I go. Sorry about that. Give yourself a little
Yeah,
plug.
you can find me on Let's Talk Sports if you want to check us out there. I'm also on Rec Room Sports Hub on YouTube if you want to check us out there. We're going to be doing our Lock It In Thanksgiving special tonight. We're usually what we do with that is Saturdays we cover college football, Sundays we cover NFL. But since it's Thanksgiving and there's a lot of games between now and Sunday, we're going to cover every sport pretty much. So college basketball, NBA, baseball, if there's college baseball still, which I don't think there is. But yeah, college football and NFL as well. So we'll be talking about that tonight. But yeah, and you also find me on X at April30. And if you're one of the few that's on TikTok, you can find me there too. So
Scott Kobe won't be there tonight. He's looking for a new bocce partner. Guys, have a great night. Bye-bye.